Josh here, ready to talk some Captain America Civil War with you guys. This is an advanced review of the movie. I was fortunate enough to get to see it 3 weeks ahead of time. I saw it last night, Thursday the 14th. Um, and this is going to be completely spoiler free, by the way. So, if you want to go in completely blind, not have any impressions as to what's going to go on, go ahead and turn it off now. If not, the only plot points I'll be discussing are the ones that we've seen in the trailer or that Marvel has explicitly said. Any clip released up until the VMAs clip, um, or actually the clip that came out the day after, there was a clip Marvel released the day after that featured Paul Rudd. Everything up to that point, any footage released will be discussed and is fair game. So just fair warning. I'm not going to go into super plot details, characterization issues, anything like that. I will have some of my criticisms, some of which are going to deal with the antagonist of the movie. So just be forewarned. I'm going to give a straight up warning before I start talking about it, just in case it feels a little too spoilerific. I know we all have different impressions and different definitions of spoilers. So, Captain America Civil War. This is the culmination of everything that's happened at this point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is the 13th film in the MCU. It's a big undertaking for anybody. Returning to direct and script the movie are Joe and Anthony Russo as the directors from Captain America the Winter Soldier, and then a longtime MCU writers, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, who wrote Captain America the First Avenger, Captain America Winter Soldier, Thor the Dark World, Civil War, and then this whole creative team is coming together to do Infinity War Parts 1 and 2 in 2018 and 2019. This movie essentially was an audition for them to prove that they could handle the massive scope of Infinity War. I can safely say before we start going into this that this is automatically earned a place in my top three. I'm not sure if it's better than Winter Soldier. I'll kind of get into that towards the end. It's probably top two for me. That's a really tall order. In my opinion, it's the most complete film they've ever done in the universe, but doesn't make it necessarily the best, if that makes any sort of sense to you. So, going into, even though it's called Civil War, even though Robert Downey Jr. is second billed in the movie, this is a Captain America story at its heart. A lot of the focus is on Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and Sam Wilson. Those three, their interactions really drive a lot of the film. Natasha Romanoff has a lot to do with the Captain America franchise too, so she's a major player here. But the movie goes deeper than just, we're going to have them all fight. It deals with themes of friendship. It deals with themes of family. And it goes so much deeper. Like, it makes you explore those bonds. It makes you think about those bonds in your own life. It's a thought-provoking film. The Russos promised a film that would change the universe in a way that even The Winter Soldier didn't, and they delivered. What that means exactly, I can't really go into it, but obviously, from all the trailers, from the posters, everything, we know that our heroes are all fighting one another. They're all on opposite sides of the Superhero Registration Act, the form that took in the MCU after the events in New York City, Washington, D.C., Sokovia, and plenty of others. And the way it was handled, it's different from the comic. It was handled very tastefully. It was handled very well. There's a lot of fallout from Age of Ultron here. I'm glad they're addressing that because Age of Ultron was a mess of a film. I liked it initially coming out of it. The more I look back on it, it's like, wow. Like, that film was just kind of like thrown together. I'm not really sure who's to blame on that one. Joss Whedon certainly has to assume some of the blame, but so does Marvel. This is the film we deserved. I'm very happy it was Captain America, though, and not Avengers Civil War, because it made the movie that much more personal. It made you get invested in these characters, and you come to realize that neither Captain America or Iron Man are the antagonist here. They're two sides of the same coin, really, and that's a difficult pill to swallow, I think, because in the Civil War comic, it was pretty cut and dry who you thought was right or wrong. Going into this, the first trailer seemed to really lean pro Iron Man, with he's my friend, Tony. Well, so was I, and then the second major trailer they released that showed us the introduction of Spider-Man is much, much more Cap and Bucky centric in looking to protect Bucky. So it's really interesting. There's not a ton of Easter eggs to talk about in this film, which is great. It doesn't bother setting up, this giant universe like Age of Ultron is trying to do, like the Avengers is trying to do. Even in these other films, we've gotten little notions to what's going to come next. We get really no notion of what's going to happen in Phase 3, which is good. It doesn't worry about building a bigger universe. Really, it knows the universe is established at this point. Like, we're racing towards the end game now. I will say, aside from the very first Avengers film, this is probably the most important film in the cinematic universe because of the consequences that come from it. It's dealing with the consequences of all the actions that have happened. They establish, that the universe has been going on for 8 years at this point. Much like as in real life, they're keeping it linear. It's going to be really interesting to see how they deal with that going forward. But, they're finally demanding that they be held accountable. Thunderbolt Ross comes back from Incredible Hulk. He's now Secretary of State. It's really interesting, a lot of these things that we see happen. So, let's move on to the characters, though. The characterization, Steve Rogers really completes the arc that he's been on since First Avenger. That we saw, First Avenger, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, and now in Civil War. And the friendship with Bucky still really drives a lot of it, which is good. I mean, the chemistry that Chris Evans, Sebastian Stan, and then, we have to bring Anthony Mackie into that also as the Falcon. The chemistry all three of them have is impeccable. You can tell these guys love what they do. You can tell that they love their roles. They love being in this universe, and that's a lot of fun. So, see, the banter between them is excellent. It feels organic. It feels natural. It's a very believable path these guys have gone on now. And you see the fault though in Captain America when he's so undyingly loyal to Bucky that he's willing to throw everything else away. He knows that he's putting his friends in danger to save Bucky, and it's interesting because that's a side of Cap we haven't seen before. That's a side we've never seen of him. So in some respects, it may be completely drastic going from Age of Ultron. Different writers, different directors. It feels like a natural progression, though, from the Winter Soldier. So then Iron Man. You have probably the most, at the beginning at least, you have the most docile Tony Stark has ever been. This is a man who's clearly haunted by the events of the last 8 years. He's still haunted by New York. He's haunted by the events of Iron Man 3. He's haunted by the fact that he created Ultron. It's really difficult to, it's difficult, because we've seen that character progression since Iron Man 1. This is like the 6th film he's been in. 3 Iron Mans, 2 Avengers, and now Civil War. This is the 6th film he's had a major role in, not counting his cameo in Incredible Hulk. And it's so cool to see. It's cool to see the progression of that character. Outside of those 4, I mean, a lot of the others really take a back seat, which is good. It doesn't suffer from the Spider-Man 3 syndrome. I can safely say that. But those are our established characters. The big highlights, what everybody wants to know. How was Black Panther? How was Spider-Man? Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther. Like, there's no question in my mind about it. I wasn't really down on the casting of him. I was really pushing for Chiwetel Ejiofor to be him. He's now Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange this fall. But I really wanted him to be Black Panther. Like, to me, that is Panther. Like, he resembles T'Challa to me. Chadwick Boseman, nails the accent. You very much believe he's the Prince of Wakanda. And that costume is awesome. The introduction, the first time we see the Panther suit, it's awesome. Anytime he's on screen, he's stealing the show. He is one of the major highlights of this film for me. Finally seeing Panther come to life. A Black Panther movie cannot come soon enough. Beginning of 2018, February 2018, I think, is when we get it. A year and a half away. That's a little too long for me to wait. I definitely want to see more. I'll watch the Panther scenes forever. But Spider-Man, the big unknown that I had going into this. I was saying in the car on the way down to go see it. I drove from Dallas to Houston to go see this. I was saying to my friend Matt, I was like, man, I don't even want to talk about Tom Holland right now. Like, I'm so scared. People who've seen it early, Marvel insiders, and, James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, was saying as far back as like December and January that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man he's ever seen. I did not want to go into this movie thinking that. I didn't. So I deliberately stopped reading everything once I saw James Gunn's tweet. I can say coming out of this without giving anything away, he not only defines Peter Parker as this geeky teenager, he is how I've always imagined Spider-Man. That may be due to the writing, but Tom Holland pulls this off impeccably. Um, every time he was on screen, my entire theater was bursting out, laughing and cheering and clapping. I mean, we were clapping a lot for Panther too. This was a great acquisition. I'm glad Sony decided to play ball. It made the movie better. Is he absolutely essential? No, he's not absolutely essential. Did it make the movie a whole lot more fun? Yeah. Would it not have been as good without him? Probably. I mean, you can easily see where, we didn't have to have him. Where they definitely had time to, they made the deal with Sony and put him in there. It was so much fun, though. That I can't imagine this movie without him now. Like, I don't want to imagine the movie without him. He made the experience complete for me. And Tom Holland and Chadwick Boseman really elevate this film for me. I knew what to expect from everyone else. We've seen the other players before. Moving on to kind of the villainous side. The beginning, we already knew Frank Grillo is going to show up as Crossbones. And he's such a great addition to this universe. He was so fun in Winter Soldier. When he stole Brock Rumlow. Now he's in the full Crossbones gear. And that's an awesome scene. It's a great scene. You can tell it's shot with the IMAX cameras. It's beautifully choreographed. At times it feels a tad bit clunky. It's still really cool. And then our other villain. And this is where we might be getting into a little bit of spoiler territory. Forewarning, if you don't really want to know, go ahead. Turn it back on in 1 minute. Turn it back on when it hits 13 minutes. So our second villain, who we've known for a long time, Daniel Bruhl is playing a modern incarnation of Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo is probably my biggest complaint with this film, because he suffers from the Marvel syndrome of we're not going to build up our villains enough. We're going to focus on the heroes, which in Civil War, to be fair, you kind of needed to do, but there had to be a catalyst for it. Baron Zemo, is a guy who, even in the comics, very much pulling the strings, forms Masters of Evil. He leads the Thunderbolts at one point. His appearance in this, it's not bad. Daniel Bruhl does great whenever he's on screen. He's very menacing. He's very conniving. You're scared of him. You're actually scared of him in some regards. He needs to be fleshed out more, though, and I think Marvel has a lot of plans going forward with the character. So it's not really a negative; it's more of a gripe that we didn't get more time with the actual villains of the piece, and it was all about the heroes and their infighting. So that's that. That's my major complaint. So getting out of the topic of Zemo, really wrapping this up. It's well shot. It's the same score from Winter Soldier is back. You hear some of the same themes coming out. But what everybody's been asking me since I got out of this, the airport scene, the airport fight scene that we see in the trailer. Believe the hype. The airport fight scene is the scene people will be talking about for years to come. It is the best superhero battle I've ever seen on screen, whether it's between a hero and a villain, hero versus hero. This is the new pinnacle to match. It's an awe-inspiring sequence over a course of 15, 20 minutes. It's awe-inspiring. And it is just, it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking to see these heroes, slugging it out with each other. Like, they're not being nice. There's no one holds back. The only hint of holding back is when Widow and Hawkeye fight each other, like we've seen in the trailer. It's kind of a little bit of a holdback. Everything else, though, I mean, it's so great. There's tons of surprises in that scene. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but believe the hype on that. That might be the funnest sequence I've ever seen in a superhero movie. So kind of wrapping this talk up. We're approaching 15 minutes of this. Captain America: Civil War. Where do I rank it? I said at the top of the cast it was going to be top three for me. It's firmly in my top three alongside Captain America: Winter Soldier and probably the first Avengers. It's above the first Avengers for me, for sure. Avengers 1 is down to number 3, and rounding out my top 5 Guardians of the Galaxy and then Iron Man 1 respectively. In a lot of ways, I think this was better than The Winter Soldier. In some ways, though, Winter Soldier was better than this, if that makes sense. I can't really go into that. I'll go into that on a spoiler cast later on once the movie has come out in America. Premiere night, I'm going to record my own spoiler cast that morning and then put it up before I go see it again in the theaters. I'm seeing it in IMAX the night it comes out. It's a fitting end to the Captain America trilogy of films. It's going to be really cool to see what's going forward in this universe. And before anybody starts asking, yes, I did get to see the post-credit scene. I saw one of them. I was told as I was leaving there was going to be another one when the film actually comes out. There will be two post-credit scenes. Marvel continued their tradition of, if they had to, only putting one in. They did this with Winter Soldier. They did this with... I believe they did it with Guardians of the Galaxy also. We only got the Dancing Groot one at the advanced screenings. We didn't get the Howard the Duck scene. They did it with Avengers 1. It's going to be really cool to see. I really want to know what's going to happen in these, So, wrapping up, definitely go see Captain America Civil War. This is, in my opinion, this is probably the most complete superhero film we've had since The Dark Knight. This is the best superhero ensemble film we've ever had. As in a team-up film. So it beats both Avengers movies for me. It beats Batman versus Superman, in my opinion. Obviously we don't have a whole lot to compare it to. It manages to be very serious, very funny, highly entertaining. Never once was I not excited in this film. I never felt bored. It didn't feel... I've seen some reviews complain that it goes too long. It didn't feel like I was sitting there for 2.5 hours. Our screening started at 7:30. We were out at 5 after 10. And that was with us sitting all the way through the credits. It did not feel that long. It was very good. It was very complete. The pacing is pretty brisk. There's one or two areas where it might lax a little. Again, no major complaints. I'm not going to slap a numerical score on this for you guys. Just, 2 thumbs up. Go see this. Absolutely go see it. If you're a fan of these characters, even if you've only seen Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, you owe it to yourself to go see this, Yeah, it helps if you've seen the 2 Captain America films, but outside of those 4, you really can go in only having seen those, and it's okay. So, with that, I'm Josh. I'm signing off. If you liked this, please like and share it. Tell your friends. I really want to do more of these. I want to do more of these. I'm going to be going to some more advanced screenings coming up throughout the summer. So, who knows? Who knows what else I'll be covering here? And keep it locked here. Thanks, guys.